we have our special guest.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce our special guest?
Mr. Paul G. Terry, yeah, well,
Yeah, oh,
lovely.
Thank you for having me.
We first saw you when we were in Chequermead. You were doing some lovely piano playing.
That was this time last week, wasn't it?
Yes.
Last Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was really, really nice. And we thought, well, let's have you in and have a little chat about your musical career.
The only gripe you didn't bring your grand piano in with you. That's already a shame.
Do you know, I could actually bring in a piano. I've got a stage piano. That maybe,
okay.
you know.
Maybe next time.
Yeah.
I know we're not going to miss out because you've got a couple of your CDs here, haven't you? I know that. I see them in your bag. Yeah. Oh, great.
And you've chosen some tracks for us?
Yes, I've chosen 3 tracks which mean a really big deal to me, and they've had a big influence on me. You know, these artists coming up.
Good. Right, should we play the first one of that? Would you like to pick one and tell us why you picked this particular one?
Yeah, so this one is by Phil Gould, who is a drummer from Level 42. And Level 42 have been the biggest influence in my life. You know, when I was a teenager, it was just it's such an intense experience listening to their music, and I still love it now. It just hasn't waned at all. And about 6 months ago, I heard that Phil Gould had done some solo work, and I was going through a little bit of a stressful time at that time, and I was getting very nostalgic. I think it's one of those sort of safety nets that we have when things are you feel like your life is falling apart around you. You sort of hark back to better times, and Level 42, I guess, are my
your go-to.
Your security blanket type of thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, lovely.
And and then I found this piece, Colour of My Pain, and it's so lovely. I just kept on putting it on repeat, and it had a very, very emotional effect on me. And I guess, I don't know if I should jump into this now, but around 6 months ago I was living in Brighton, and so I live in Forest Row now, and things were just kind of ending there, and I just couldn't really cope with it, and I have to say that I kind of realised it afterwards, but I was having what's called as a nervous breakdown.
Oh, no.
Bless you.
Yeah, and I was for days I was just in tears, and it was just really weird, because I don't sort of like just cry for for no reason, and then I was like just putting this song on and flooding the tears, but it kind of felt like I was just getting something out.
It was cathartic.
Yeah.
Really cathartic, yeah.
Oh, well, let's have a little listen then, and enjoy along with you.
Forest Row is a lot quieter than Brighton.
Oh, definitely, with more nature, which I really love.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, well, let's have this song.
But this is quite a long song, it's about 7 minutes, but if we could, about 4 minutes.
Yeah, fine, we can do that. Yeah, no problem. Okay then, Paul. Right, yes, it's Phil Gould and Colour of My Pain.
Thank you so much for that track, Paul. That was a really lovely Sunday afternoon track.
Glad you like it.
Yeah, no, really lovely. Paul, when we saw you, you were playing mostly classical music.
Yes.
And your own stuff that you played on that afternoon was also sort of to a classical bent.
Yes.
Music is music. It's just because you like one sort doesn't mean to say you can't like another.
Exactly.
Do you have people sort of?
Yeah, well, the thing is, we put all of these different types of music into genres, and at the end of the day, you could say, well, music's either good or not good.
Yeah. I have to be honest. I was never particularly keen on classical music. We knock advertising and we knock them using classical music in various TV programs or whatever. But actually it's giving people that bit of access and that bit of familiarity to it.
Yeah, my gateway to classical music was through films, which I think a lot of people do have that.
Oh.
And I wasn't growing up. I wasn't brought up around much classical music. My parents owned Holst the Planets and Vivaldi's Four Seasons.
Yeah.
But it was also, other than that, it was, pop music, Cliff Richard and ABBA and Shadow.
Yeah, that sounds very familiar, actually.
So, I was going to go in my own direction, really. But I think it was like in my early 20s that things changed for me, because I thought classical music was this really sort of pompous kind of music that was meant for someone else, not for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't have piano lessons when I was a child, which I think can also help introduce people to classical music. So I was quite a bit of a late comer to that. But it was a film that I saw which really did it for me, and it's called Breathless, and it's with Richard Gere, and it's a remake of a French film called A Bout de Souffle, which is Lack of Breath, by Jean-Luc Godard, not Jean-Luc Picard.
That's a whole different thing.
Different Jean-Luc, yeah. And it had this bit of music where this beautiful woman dived into the swimming pool, somewhere in California, and then there's this lovely piano music started coming in, and I was like, wow, what is this? Is it classical music? I think it is, but it's not like anything I'd heard before, like these symphonies and Haydn and all that. And so I waited till the end of the film to find out who it was, pen and paper. And there was this guy called Philip Glass from America.
Yeah.
And there's this piece called Opening, and I thought, wow, I've got to get a hold of this. And this was in the late 90s, so there was no internet to download anything. So I found it in the library, and I just found some, because I was always going there to get tapes and CDs. And so there's this piece which is Opening, which is another piece of
we've got
it. We've got it, actually, if you'd like.
Yeah.
Shall we go into it? Now you've told the story.
Now you've told the story.
Just before we do, I actually played this last Sunday as well, because I love playing this piece. It's quite a long one, and nice one, and it's quite long, and it's quite repetitive. So what I'd recommend to listeners, if you haven't heard anything like this before, is if you're not driving or operating mechanical gear, just just close your eyes and just see where the music takes you. Just take a moment just to
absorb it almost.
Look inside, perhaps just see what imagery comes up in your head. And
what a great bit of advice, actually. Yeah, it's a great idea, that, actually. Yeah. This is Philip Glass, and there's a track called Opening.
You're listening to Ginnie and Dave this afternoon on 107 Meridian FM with Grinny Grooves Backstage Pass. We have our very special guest here with us today, Paul G. Terry. We have to put the G in because there's lots of Paul Terrys apparently, and we don't want anybody who's called Paul Terry to get muddled up with the one that's here, because you're not here, he is. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's clear as mud. Thank you, Mark. Paul, I've got to say thank you. This is the first time we've had a Philip Glass track on the show. That sounds fantastic. Thank you, mate, for picking that. I can see what you mean about you just it's just sitting there and letting it wash over you, sort of thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, you do hear it differently. It does work. You do hear it differently, and then if you're trying to listen to it, sort of thing.
I think with instrumental music that always helps, but I would say more specifically it works really well with classical music. When it's instrumental, because you have so many different things going on. And there's so many different layers, so it can be quite complicated. So it's nice to just to do that with that. But Philip Glass, it's quite repetitive as well. so it can kind of put you in a little bit of a trance if you wanted to.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you so much for that, mate. Yeah. Can we talk about how you started in music? Because can you tell me, to begin with, what instruments do you play? Because I've heard it on the grapevine. You were a little bit of a multi-instrumentalist, is that right?
Well, that could just be more than one, really, couldn't it? Yeah. Well, I had to, because I did a degree in music at Christ Church in Canterbury, and you have to do two instruments to do a degree. So in my audition, I played piano and the guitar.
Okay.
And so from the guitar, I kind of went to the bass as well.
I heard that, yeah. So, but did you play a little bit of brass as well, or did I imagine that?
Yes, that was in your dreams.
Okay.
One of your
I do have funny dreams, I'll tell you.
No, but I tell you what though, I'm kind of starting a little bit of a new instrument, and that's the church organ.
Oh my gosh.
Which, years and years ago, when I was at college, I had one lesson in it, and it just turned out to be a bit too expensive. I just couldn't afford to have any more. But I was like really excited about having them. And and when I love visiting churches. The whole kind of that really sort of like depth that you get there, the majesty of some like cathedrals, especially. And and I love to see all the big pipes and churches.
They're beast, aren't they? Get a big one. Well, our church got a lovely organ in it. St Swithin's.
St
Swithin's, yes. So I've contacted them to ask if I can have a go. And they're getting back to me. They're getting back to me.
It is spectacular, and so many organs have been lost through churches because there aren't the people to play them, and they're so expensive to upkeep. And when your church's roof's falling in, what do? Repair your organ or repair your roof? It's a bit. So it's.
I think from my research that cathedrals having these organs in just made them places of kind of healing through sound.
Well, yeah, could you say about sounds and vibrations?
Yeah.
When you get into a church with a big organ, you can feel those vibrations, can't you?
Definitely,
really inside you. Fantastic.
I went to a concert last year in Brighton. I can't remember the name of the church, but the first part of the concert was. Oh no, I actually went to two. Yeah. Oh yeah. So anyway, they had some organ pieces being played, and it was such a massive sound. It was beautiful.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So on Tuesday, I've arranged to visit a church in East Grinstead. It's Our Lady St Peter's, who kindly agreed to let me go and have a go. And I want to get into that, and I want to learn to play it properly and play more.
That's the Catholic Church, I think.
I think it is, yeah.
It's the pink one. But though they insist it's not pink, sorry. Yeah, sorry, Dave, thank you for that. I just turned myself down there.
I think we're enjoying this too much today.
Yeah, I think we are. Look, I need to play some more music, and I would like to play a piece that has been written by our wonderful guest today. So,
good idea.
What can we play?
So I got it. So this is another piano solo piece. It's quite a short piece, and just handing over the CD. So this is from my album Lion's Eyes, which I finished a few years ago, and this one is really inspired by nature, and that's and the track number is where is it? 15. So this one is called The River Knows, and so it's inspired. I'm inspired by nature. For me, this is all about harking back to the heritage of England's pastoral scenes of streams and rivers that have been there for thousands of years, and perhaps the wisdom of these sort of ancient streams and rivers that we don't know what's going on there. And it's just it's evocative, and it's also there's a little bit of a Beatles reference in here because I'm a big Beatles fan.
Right, okay.
And
That's a challenge for the audience then.
yeah,
That's enough for that.
so with this one, so if close your eyes if you can, and just think of babbling brooks and streams and
Lovely.
rivers.
Here we go. That beautiful piece of music was The River Knows from the album Lion Eyes by our special guest today, Paul G. Terry.